Aquarius, something feels strangely different inside your emotional world lately. You still move through life the same way. Still talk to people. Still show up online. Still smile when someone asks how you've been doing these days. But somewhere deep inside you've started feeling the need to protect a part of your life much more carefully. Not because you're afraid of anyone, but because after so many experiences, your heart seems to be learning which eyes truly bring peace into your life, and which ones are only watching from a distance. This modern world makes everything feel incredibly close. A single phone screen is enough for people to know when you're happy, when you're hurting, when you're falling in love, or when you're quietly stepping into a brand new chapter of your life. And then one day, Aquarius slowly realizes that some of the most beautiful things in life need to grow in gentle privacy before they're strong enough to stand in the light. Because from the moment you started sharing too much of your journey, something about the energy around you seemed to shift in a way that's hard to explain. Aquarius often carries a very rare kind of sincerity inside them. You open your heart easily when something truly feels beautiful to you. A new idea that suddenly appears in your mind. A dream still resting across unfinished pages. A conversation that softens your heart after so many days of living inside logic and survival mode. And when you speak about those things, your eyes naturally light up. There's no calculation behind it. No need to impress anyone. Deep down, you've always believed that beautiful energy is meant to be shared with the world, the same way sunlight slowly slips through a window on a cold morning. But as time moves forward, certain experiences begin teaching Aquarius to pause before sharing something deeply personal. Some people who once listened to you with excitement and warmth later leave you carrying a strange kind of emotional exhaustion. You can't fully explain. A few dreams that once made you feel alive suddenly lose their spark after being spoken out loud too soon. A connection that had just started feeling peaceful somehow becomes fragile once too many eyes become aware of it. And the strange part is, there isn't always a clear reason why. Aquarius simply starts feeling that things no longer feel as light as they once did. It's like walking into a crowded room where nobody says anything wrong, yet your body can still sense that the atmosphere has shifted. This modern world has made sharing almost effortless. Just a few seconds of photo, a late-night story, a small update online, and suddenly countless people are stepping through the doorway of your private world. The people who genuinely care about you will look with warmth. But there will always be other kinds of eyes too. Curiosity, comparison, unhealed emotions living inside other people. Or sometimes simply the habit of watching someone else's life to fill an emptiness inside their own. That doesn't automatically make anyone bad. It simply reminds Aquarius that human energy is often far more delicate than we realize. A seed that has just been planted usually needs shade before it's strong enough to handle full sunlight. A young river flows quietly beneath trees before it ever becomes an ocean wide enough to stop fearing the wind. And maybe the human soul works the same way. Some beautiful parts of life need to remain private for a little while. Not because they are secret, but because they are still growing. Aquarius once believed that showing the world you were doing well would create connection. But with maturity you slowly realize that real peace sometimes begins the moment you stop trying to explain your life to everyone around you. You become more careful about who hears your emotions, more thoughtful about who gets invited into your inner world, more protective about who knows what you're quietly building for your future. That doesn't make you colder. It simply shows that your spirit is growing in a deeper way. Because after everything, Aquarius slowly begins to understand that privacy is not distance. It's a small sacred space every human being needs to protect their own light, before that light becomes strong enough to shine outward. And maybe this season of your life isn't asking you to disappear from the world. Maybe it's simply teaching you how to keep a portion of your precious energy close to your heart, instead of placing every emotion beneath the eyes of the crowd too soon. And little by little, Aquarius begins noticing something strangely unsettling about the modern world. People can now exist in each other's lives every single day without ever truly coming close to one another. Someone can know where you've been, know your favorite coffee shop, know the song you play after midnight, know whether your heart feels heavy or light today, all through a few quiet taps on a phone screen. Everything happens so silently. No long conversations. No real check-ins. No genuine presence. Just story views showing up night after night. Accounts that have never sent you a single message yet somehow become the first to see every new piece of your life. And for a long time, Aquarius thought that was completely normal. Until one day you begin realizing that human energy doesn't always need words to touch another person. Some eyes make you feel understood. Some leave a strange heaviness, sitting quietly inside your chest. Not because anyone is intentionally trying to hurt you, but because every human being carries their own emotional world while looking into someone else's life. Some people watch you with genuine affection. Some watch with a longing they can't quite explain. Some are simply curious about how your story is unfolding. And then there are souls carrying exhaustion inside their own lives, who unconsciously begin comparing their journey to yours. That's part of being human. Aquarius tends to feel those invisible emotional shifts more deeply than most people realize. You walk into a room and sense the atmosphere before anyone even speaks. You notice distance hiding behind a smile. You feel when a connection slowly begins drifting out of rhythm, even while everything on the surface still looks unchanged. And maybe that's why, after sharing too much joy too quickly, your heart sometimes no longer feels as light as it did in the beginning. A dream that once filled you with excitement can suddenly feel fragile after being exposed to too many eyes too soon. A connection that once felt peaceful can begin carrying pressure the moment too many people become aware of it. And the hardest part to explain is nothing usually changes in an obvious way. It feels more like the wind quietly shifting before rain arrives. Subtle, quiet, almost impossible to prove. Yet Aquarius still feels it. Years ago, people kept precious moments tucked inside old journals. A carefully folded letter. A photograph hidden in a bedside drawer. Now emotions seem to be placed under bright lights almost instantly. A beautiful moment barely has time to breathe before it passes through hundreds of eyes. A connection still learning how to grow suddenly carries the weight of outside curiosity. And maybe because of that, Aquarius has recently started craving a slower relationship with their own emotions. You no longer feel the urge to explain everything the moment it happens. No longer feel the need to prove that you're happy. No longer want every private moment turned into something the world can witness. And strangely enough, that doesn't make your life less meaningful. If anything, it helps you feel the true depth of peace for the first time in a very long while. Because some of the most beautiful things in life need a private sky to grow beneath. Like moonlight reflecting across a quiet lake after midnight, it becomes most beautiful when nothing disturbs the surface of the water. And maybe this chapter Aquarius is walking through isn't about fearing other people's attention. Maybe it's about finally learning what should be shared with the world and what deserves to remain a soft, sacred place, kept only for your own heart. And after so many moments of letting your emotions collide with the noise of the world, Aquarius slowly begins changing in ways that are almost impossible to notice at first. Not on the outside, but somewhere much deeper inside the soul. You begin speaking less about your future plans, explaining yourself less when someone misunderstands you, trying less to prove that your life is perfectly okay. There was a time when every new idea made you want to call someone immediately. Even the smallest dream forming inside your mind could light up your eyes like a child discovering something magical for the first time. But now, Aquarius seems more comfortable holding things close to the heart a little longer before bringing them into the light. Not because you've become closed off, but because you're starting to understand that some of the most beautiful things in life need space to grow quietly. like a song that reaches deep into the human heart, usually beginning with the softest notes. Like the deepest parts of the ocean appearing calm and still from a distance. A mature soul no longer feels the need to create constant noise just to prove its depth. And strangely enough, the moment Aquarius stops trying to explain life to everyone else, the heart slowly begins feeling lighter. You stop staying awake at night, wondering who misunderstood you. You stop feeling pressure to constantly update your progress just to feel validated. You stop fearing that silence means people will forget you. Instead, you begin noticing small moments you once rushed past without realizing their value. A quiet morning with a warm cup of coffee still resting in your hands. A long drive with no urge to post any part of it online. An ordinary day where your mind no longer feels pulled toward the opinions of strangers. That's a very grown kind of peace. It doesn't come from life becoming perfect. It comes from your soul finally finding a place where it can rest. Aquarius has always carried more thoughts than people realize. You replay short conversations in your mind for days. You remember tiny emotional moments long after everyone else has forgotten them. And because of that, living too long inside the noise of attention can quietly exhaust your spirit without you even noticing. Maybe that's why this season of life is teaching Aquarius something so meaningful. Privacy is not loneliness. And silence does not mean disappearing from the world. Sometimes it's simply the way a soul begins healing itself from too much unnecessary noise. A relationship that feels truly peaceful usually doesn't need constant proof. A serious dream is often built during very quiet seasons, and a stronger version of yourself often appears after a period where very few people truly understand what you survived. Aquarius slowly realizes that not every meaningful moment needs to be shared in order to matter. Some memories become complete simply by existing inside your own heart. And honestly, this may be the closest you've been to your real self in a very long time. No longer chasing validation. No longer trying to become the version of yourself other people expect to see. Only learning how to sit quietly with your own soul and hear the soft inner voice that had been buried beneath the noise of the outside world for far too long. Like a lake finally settling after a powerful storm, the surface slowly becomes still again. And for the first time in many years, Aquarius feels like they can finally breathe normally again. And after learning how to rediscover peace inside silence, Aquarius slowly begins understanding something even deeper than that. Not everyone who walks into your life truly knows how to hold the softest parts of you with care. Aquarius often gives people the impression of being incredibly strong. You can walk through the world with a calm smile while your mind is carrying hundreds of overlapping thoughts underneath the surface. You still answer messages normally, still go to work, still check on the people you love, still softly say, "I'm okay." And because of that, many people assume you're not easily hurt. But the truth is, Aquarius feels things far more deeply than most people ever realize. One careless sentence can stay in your mind for days. A subtle change in someone's eyes can quietly keep your intuition awake all night long. It's just that you've never been the type to turn your pain into something performative. You don't like making emotions louder than they need to be. You don't want your heart becoming a stage in front of a crowd. And maybe that's exactly why, when Aquarius truly opens up to someone, it carries deep meaning. You tell them the things you normally keep hidden. The fears you've never fully named out loud. The sleepless nights. The pressure people assume you're strong enough to carry alone. Moments like that feel almost sacred. Like handing someone the key to the quietest room inside your soul. But life has a strange way of teaching Aquarius through very silent experiences. You slowly realize that some people listen, not because they truly want to understand you. Some are simply curious. Some unconsciously turn your story into conversation once you leave the room. Some hold your vulnerable moments like information they may bring back up another day. And that realization doesn't make Aquarius bitter. It simply makes you more careful about who gets invited deeper into your inner world. A beautiful home cannot leave every door wide open all day long, just because it's afraid of disappointing someone. Even a garden needs a fence, not to shut the world out, but to give the flowers inside a chance to grow peacefully. Aquarius slowly begins understanding that privacy is not emotional coldness. It's a gentle form of self-respect for the soul. You no longer feel the need to explain everything just to prove you're sincere. You no longer believe keeping certain feelings to yourself is selfish. Because the people who genuinely care about you usually won't force you to expose every wound just to believe your heart is real. They will respect your silence. Respect the pace at which you open up. Respect the days when all you want is to keep your inner world quiet and still. And honestly, that's a lesson many adults spend years trying to learn. Kindness does not mean giving every piece of yourself away to everyone. You can still be compassionate while protecting emotional boundaries. You can still love deeply without reopening every old scar just to earn understanding. You can still live sincerely without turning every feeling into something public for the world to observe. Maybe this season is teaching Aquarius something incredibly important. A strong soul is not a soul that has never been hurt. It's a soul that finally learns where it is safe to place its softness. Like migrating birds instinctively searching for safe ground, after a long journey the human heart needs that too. It needs to be listened to the right way, touched with genuine kindness, surrounded by people who do not treat your sensitivity as something to use against you. And maybe the greatest transformation Aquarius is experiencing right now isn't becoming more distant from the world. Maybe it's simply this: for the first time in a very long while, you are finally learning how to protect the gentlest part of yourself through a very quiet kind of maturity. And maybe it's from the very moment Aquarius began protecting the softer parts of the soul more carefully that something quiet started changing deep inside. You begin pulling back from the noise of the world a little more. Not disappearing completely, just naturally losing interest in constantly being seen. You post less. Share less about what you're currently feeling. Reveal less about what you're quietly preparing for your future. Some people may think you're changing, that you've become more distant than before. But honestly, this may simply be the moment Aquarius intuition is trying to guide you back toward yourself again. Aquarius is the kind of soul that lives heavily inside the mind. You analyze everything, observe everything, constantly search for logic behind every emotion life places in front of you. But the deepest transformations in life rarely begin through logic. Most of the time, they arrive as something almost invisible. Waking up one morning and suddenly feeling no desire to explain yourself anymore. Scrolling through social media late at night, then unexpectedly wanting to turn your phone off early. Standing in the middle of a crowd yet quietly wishing for a little more solitude. The feeling is subtle. So subtle that without enough silence, you might completely miss the signal. Intuition rarely arrives like lightning, splitting the sky apart. It feels more like the soft sound of wind moving a curtain after midnight. A quiet but persistent feeling saying, "Don't rush to share this yet. Keep this close to your heart a little longer. Let yourself breathe before returning to the world again." And strangely enough, the older Aquarius becomes, the more you begin trusting that feeling. Not from superstition, not from fear, but because after enough life experience, you slowly realize the body and soul often understand things long before the mind can explain them. There are seasons in life that don't need more advice, don't need more attention, don't need constant outside voices pulling at your spirit. What's truly needed is a deep enough silence to hear your own heart again. A lake can only reflect the sky clearly once the surface becomes still, and maybe the human soul works the same way. After living too long beneath the noise of expectations, notifications, social media, and the pressure to always remain visible, people slowly lose connection with what they genuinely feel inside. And perhaps that's exactly what Aquarius is beginning to notice now. You no longer want to keep running. No longer want to constantly update the world, just to prove you're doing okay. No longer want every stage of your transformation observed in real time by strangers. A part of you simply wants to slow down. Slow down enough to hear your own footsteps again. Slow down enough to recognize what truly brings peace into your heart. Slow down enough to understand what deserves to stay in your life, and what quietly needs to be released. And that isn't escaping the world. If anything, it may be a sign that Aquarius is entering a far deeper stage of maturity, like a caterpillar remaining still inside its cocoon before wings can fully form. From the outside, everything appears quiet, but internally something enormous is shifting. And maybe the silence Aquarius is choosing right now isn't about disappearing from the world at all. Maybe it's about returning one day, without living according to everyone else's noise anymore. You begin living closer to your intuition, closer to your own peace, closer to the version of yourself your heart has been trying to call home for a very long time. And after all of those quiet seasons, Aquarius slowly begins understanding something you once believed would never really matter to you. Some of the most beautiful connections in life usually grow very slowly in places where very few people can see them. When you were younger, Aquarius often believed that whenever something made your heart happy, you would naturally want to share it with the world. A person who made your heart race again. A relationship that brought a rare feeling of peace. A conversation stretching late into the night without either of you feeling tired. Everything felt so beautiful that you wanted to preserve it simply by talking about it. But as time passed, you slowly realized that certain fragile things begin changing the moment too many eyes step into them. Not because the love becomes weaker, but because the outside world carries so much noise with it. Opinions from people who don't truly understand your story. Quiet comparison created by social media. Questions that sound harmless, yet slowly place pressure on the heart. So are you too official now? Do you really think they're serious about you? Why don't you post pictures together anymore? Everything's still okay between you two. At first, those questions seem completely normal. But when two people are still learning how to trust one another, too many outside voices can slowly make them forget what the connection originally felt like. And maybe that's when Aquarius begins realizing not everything needs an audience in order to hold meaning. Some of the most beautiful relationships happen very quietly. Like two people sitting beside each other during a long drive, barely speaking, yet somehow feeling completely safe. Like the soft yellow kitchen light after midnight, two warm cups of tea, and a kind of peace the outside world never needs to know about. Some connections need time to grow slowly in the shadows before they're strong enough to stand beneath bright light. Because fragile things are easily wounded when they're forced to grow beneath too many eyes. And honestly, this truth doesn't only belong to love. A dream needs that kind of protection too. A new beginning needs it too. Even a newer version of yourself needs it. When something is still forming, it needs care far more than attention. Aquarius may have noticed recently that you want to keep more things private than before. You no longer feel the urge to post every emotion online. No longer want every beautiful moment turned into something visible. No longer feel the need to prove that your life is happy. And truthfully, that may actually be a very beautiful kind of maturity. Because when people truly discover what brings peace into their hearts, they usually stop needing so much validation from the outside world. They stop living to be watched and begin living to genuinely feel. And maybe the human soul works the same way. After living too long beneath the noise of expectations, notifications, social media, and the pressure to always remain visible, people slowly lose connection with what they genuinely feel inside. And perhaps that's exactly what Aquarius is beginning to notice now. You no longer want to keep running. No longer want to constantly update the world just to prove you're doing okay. No longer want every stage of your transformation observed in real time by strangers. A part of you simply wants to slow down. Slow down enough to hear your own footsteps again. Slow down enough to recognize what truly brings peace into your heart. Slow down enough to understand what deserves to stay in your life and what quietly needs to be released. And that isn't escaping the world. If anything, it may be a sign that Aquarius is entering a far deeper stage of maturity, like a caterpillar remaining still inside its cocoon before wings can fully form. From the outside, everything appears quiet, but internally something enormous is shifting. And maybe the silence Aquarius is choosing right now isn't about disappearing from the world at all. Maybe it's about returning one day, without living according to everyone else's noise anymore. You begin living closer to your intuition, closer to your own peace, closer to the version of yourself your heart has been trying to call home for a very long time. And after all of those quiet seasons, Aquarius slowly begins understanding something you once believed would never really matter to you. Some of the most beautiful connections in life usually grow very slowly in places where very few people can see them. When you were younger, Aquarius often believed that whenever something made your heart happy, you would naturally want to share it with the world. A person who made your heart race again. A relationship that brought a rare feeling of peace. A conversation stretching late into the night without either of you feeling tired. Everything felt so beautiful that you wanted to preserve it simply by talking about it. But as time passed, you slowly realized that certain fragile things begin changing the moment too many eyes step into them. Not because the love becomes weaker, but because the outside world carries so much noise with it. Opinions from people who don't truly understand your story. Quiet comparison created by social media. Questions that sound harmless, yet slowly place pressure on the heart. So are you two official now? Do you really think they're serious about you? Why don't you post pictures together anymore? Everything's still okay between you two? At first, those questions seem completely normal. But when two people are still learning how to trust one another, too many outside voices can slowly make them forget what the connection originally felt like. And maybe that's when Aquarius begins realizing not everything needs an audience in order to hold meaning. Some of the most beautiful relationships happen very quietly. Like two people sitting beside each other during a long drive, barely speaking, yet somehow feeling completely safe. Like the soft yellow kitchen light after midnight, two warm cups of tea, and a kind of peace the outside world never needs to know about. Some connections need time to grow slowly in the shadows before they're strong enough to stand beneath bright light. Because fragile things are easily wounded when they're forced to grow beneath too many eyes. And honestly, this truth doesn't only belong to love. A dream needs that kind of protection too. A new beginning needs it too. Even a newer version of yourself needs it. When something is still forming, it needs care far more than attention. Aquarius may have noticed recently that you want to keep more things private than before. You no longer feel the urge to post every emotion online. No longer want every beautiful moment turned into something visible. No longer feel the need to prove that your life is happy. And truthfully, that may actually be a very beautiful kind of maturity. Because when people truly discover what brings peace into their hearts, they usually stop needing so much validation from the outside world. They stop living to be watched and begin living to genuinely feel. Aquarius is learning how to move more slowly with emotion. Listen to yourself more carefully. Stay close to the things that genuinely make your spirit feel safe. And maybe this is the moment real maturity finally begins. When someone still keeps their kindness toward the world without sacrificing themselves just to receive attention from others anymore. And after all those seasons spent learning how to step back from the noise, Aquarius slowly begins arriving at a very gentle realization. Some of the most beautiful things in life never actually needed an audience to become meaningful. A sincere connection doesn't have to constantly appear on a screen just to prove it's real. A dream that truly matters doesn't need the world's approval from the very beginning. And a soul trying to heal itself often needs deep quiet far more than passing attention. There was once a time when Aquarius may have believed that if something wasn't shared, it somehow became smaller. But now you're beginning to understand the opposite. Some emotions become even more meaningful when they're protected carefully. Like a small flame during a cold night. If it's left exposed to harsh wind for too long, it can easily disappear. But when it's sheltered gently enough, it quietly becomes capable of warming an entire room. Human hearts work the same way. A heart recovering from pain needs time before it can fully open again. A beautiful connection needs patience before it can survive the pressure of the outside world. And even a newer version of yourself needs space to grow slowly before becoming strong enough to stand in the light. And maybe that's exactly why Aquarius has recently felt the urge to slow down. Not because you've fallen out of love with life. If anything, it's because you've started loving your own peace more deeply than before. You no longer want to trade your inner calm for a few moments of attention. You no longer want every private moment turned into something visible just to feel valuable. Because after everything life has taught you, Aquarius slowly begins realizing that the true value of something beautiful is not measured by how many people know about it. It's measured by the feeling it leaves inside your soul. An evening spent beside the right person. A morning where your chest no longer feels heavy when you wake up. A quiet realization that you've stopped chasing constant validation from the outside world. Moments like those are usually very quiet. Yet they heal people in the deepest ways. And maybe this chapter of life is not taking something away from Aquarius at all. Maybe it's gently teaching you how to return closer to yourself again. Closer to a rhythm of life that allows your heart to breathe easier. Closer to relationships that don't leave your spirit exhausted. Closer to a version of yourself that no longer feels forced to perform in order to be accepted. And maybe one day, when Aquarius looks back on this season, you'll realize that the time you spent stepping away from the noise of the world was never the loneliest chapter of your life. It may actually become the chapter where your soul grew the most. Because inside those quiet moments, you learned how to love yourself without needing anyone to witness it. You learned how to protect the peace inside your heart in a world constantly trying to know too much about everyone else's life. And perhaps most importantly, Aquarius finally begins understanding this. Not everything precious needs to be seen in order to exist. Some of the most beautiful things in life are meant to live quietly deep inside the soul. Like moonlight reflecting across a lake after midnight. No applause, no recognition, no one calling attention to it, yet it remains beautiful in its own quiet way. And if Aquarius has recently felt the desire to slow down a little, to keep certain feelings private, to move farther away from the noise that leaves your spirit tired, then maybe your heart is not weak at all. Maybe it's simply trying to guide you back toward the peace that truly belongs to you.